Right, so this is PES 2021, so let's go to the edit. So teams, so Premier League, Leeds, and you can see down there in the bottom right hand corner, rival clubs off, completely off. Huddersfield Town now. Bottom right hand corner, rival clubs off, completely off. And that was the case before I started the save file. So that means in my playthrough that I'm showing on YouTube, I should not be getting derby matches at all. Not at all. Okay, so just a little walkthrough of stats and stuff for my players, and obviously focus on the ones that were playing in the match against Huddersfield for speed and physicality and balance and stuff. So I'll just flip through them. So I think Vassal was playing, so only one of my other centre backs was playing. So I can't remember now which one it was, Satala or Goni, one of them. But you can see there from both of them that physically they're alright. You know, speed wise they're not the fastest, but there are slow players out there. Vassal's balance is quite bad, and he's not the quickest player, and his physicality is not brilliant either. Escobar was playing. I was wary of getting near Gyoza because he was slow and his balance is bad, but his physicality is alright. Gray is, he's pretty decent all round really. He's not the quickest player, but there are slower out there, definitely. Jalal. Vrani wasn't playing, Rice didn't play, Sarnoon didn't play, Vaca didn't play, Redmond didn't play. Delgadillo's alright, it's quite quick. It's got good balance. Larson, again, alright, good balance. Arcas played, his balance is quite bad. He's not the slowest player, and he does have a bit of physicality about him as well. Pavlidis we didn't really see because he was up top and I kept the ball at the back, but he's alright. So none of the others there played. Let's have a look at Huddersfield. So obviously not their keeper, because their keeper wasn't committing horrendous fouls and stuff. But you can see they're not, just by looking at that one player, they're not going to be overly faster or overly more physical or whatever. They're just kind of, of this OPR rating stuff. And speaking of OPRs, the OPR for my team was higher generally than Huddersfield because obviously I'd specifically gone into the transfer market. I mean, some of these players here are quite poor, really, on some of the stats. I mean, obviously, you'd have to go and pick out who actually played. But you could do that by looking at, who was rated on the match thing. I know Bakuna played because he fouled one of my men, didn't he? But they're not. And their passing stats as well, and their, kicking power and stuff. they're not overly better than mine, and mine are not, like overly worse. In fact, I've got some better players than them. So what we can say is that PES does actually factually alter stats. Oh hell yeah. So when we think about a derby match and think about PES, how PES works, what we know is that, because what we've seen is that even if it's not a derby match, it will run a routine where the AI just sit back and they won't move. And they'll have stat buffs to be faster and stronger. So if you do the dance and try and play, then they win the ball because they're more aggressive and they're faster and they come down the pitch and score. We know that PES runs routines where in knockout competitions, because it actually means something, it will be more physical, it will be more aggressive, it will run the bit of stat buffs and stat nerfs, stat boost it and stat nerf your team, deliberately misplacing passes, being, harder to knock over and stuff like that, even on teams that are notably worse. In my other playthrough, I was in a European competition. It wasn't the European Cup, it was a UEFA Cup or something. And my Leeds team there, in my personal normal playthrough, are kind of OPR just under 80. So 77s to 79-ish, across the board sort of thing. And we got drawn against Livingston. Now, Livingston OPR is sort of 60 odds generally, right? So my players, as a rule, going on the OPR rating and how that works in PES, were faster and stronger and better passers. But the way that the PES is programmed meant it was nerfing my team and boosting theirs, and honestly they were faster and stronger and everything. They lost 3-0, but it was a horrible match to play. I hated it. I absolutely hated it because PES is coded to run that routine. There are certain circumstances in the league. Let's say, you're coming to the end of the season, and if you win this game, then you qualify for Europe, right? Or you're in with a shout of getting promotion or winning the title or whatever. It will purposely run routines where, the matches will be incredibly difficult because it will boost the AI and it will nerf your team. I've had it before where my team has been doing really well in the league, and we played the team who were bottom, and it's boosted the bottom team and made them play like flipping footballing gods, All their players are just remarkably strong and all your players just fall over and stuff. So we know it does that. And then it trots out this other excuse to have stat buffs and stat nerfs as well, called a derby match. And it's trying to put over, feed off the culture of football. But the way it presents it with the Derby Chapter 1, Derby Chapter 2, Derby Chapter 3, we must win this game to kind of, because we're coming up to a derby match. It's nothing like that. Nothing. Every game for a football team is important. Every single one. Obviously, fans get up for derby games and stuff, and I should imagine some players do as well. But you get a lot of foreign players who don't, quite get that culture. Um, it, and PES is just not. It's not giving the correct vibe. And when you're trying to play and your team are not faster, your team are not stronger because they're deliberately being nerfed, their passing stats have deliberately been nerfed, as a games player it just becomes a really unenjoyable experience. And I said it in the commentary bit when I did my commentary for it. I never want to see him again. I don't want to play them. I turned it off and I shouldn't be experiencing it, and I don't know why I am. Probably because PES is so poorly programmed. Anyway, I just thought I'd put this out in a PES Extra because, it's worth talking about because it's part of PES. And I think that's another thing that PES Extra, will allow me to do as well is just explain bits about PES. In my playthrough, if I come up against it, or when if it's not to do with my YouTube experience, then I can put these things together in PES Extra and talk about it because I've got a lot of things to say about PES as a series and about franchises, yearly franchises, and disc-based games as opposed to the free-to-play downloadable models and stuff. I've got lots to say, so if I can get it into a coherent fashion, I should have some good stuff to put out there. Anyway, whatever you're doing, take care.